making love, do you prefer being a man or a woman?
Oh, actually, well, when it comes to genitalia, if we're getting down to that, what time does this go out? Penis-vagina question, I'm not really bothered either way, actually.
Eddie Izzard är stå-upp-komikens absoluta superstjärna och han har slagit total knock på publiken med sina ovanligt intelligenta skämt över hela västvärlden. Att han är transvestit och ofta uppträder sminkad med sylvassa höga klackar och lösbröst, det har inte gjort saken sämre. Eddie Izzard har också gedigen bakgrund som skådespelare både inom teater och film och snart kan vi se honom mot Brad Pitt och George Clooney i filmen Ocean's 12. Men det är som stå-upp-komiker han är mest känd och han har också vunnit tv-världens finaste pris Emmy för sina shower. Och det unika med den engelska stjärnan, det är det han skämtar om, nämligen historia, krig och EU, minst sagt ovanliga ämnen för en stå-upp-komiker.
Pol Pot killed 1.7 million people. We can't even deal with that. I think, we think if somebody kills someone, that's murder, you go to prison. You kill 10 people, you go to Texas, they hit you with a brick, that's what they do. 20 people, you go to a hospital, they look through a small window at you forever. And over that, we can't deal with it, Somebody's killed 100,000 people. We're almost going, well done, well done. You killed 100,000 people? You must get up very early in the morning. I can't even get down the gym. Your diary must look odd. Get up in the morning, death, 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 lunch. Death, death, death. Afternoon tea, death, death, death. Quick shower.
Well, I do assume the intelligence of the audience. There's this thing of dumbing down that they talk about in television, going for the lowest common denominator. I tend to go for the highest common denominator. And I assume the intelligence of the audience. And if I played an audience that wasn't sharp, they would probably lynch me because they would say, what are you talking about? But I assume people have watched a whole bunch of films, they can get references to history, politics, obscure things. Because I don't know enormous amount. I do take in a lot of facts, but I tend to just throw out small facts that I've learned, which makes me sound like I know a hell of a lot about the subject, but I don't really know.
But how come you made such a big success with these difficult topics?
Well, I do a lot of history because I found that no one did it, and I love history because I find that history, plus the changes in society and the changes in technology equals the future. This is my sort of theory. So if you study the past, you get the future. You can work out what's going to happen.
Isn't it hard to make jokes about European Union?
I take the European Union, yes. I don't really. I've only just started to try and talk about the European Union because comedy is very good for attacking, and I'm very positive about the Union. So I think it's the way that if humans aren't coming together, then what's the point of being human? We may as well just blow ourselves up.
In Europe, we have 200 languages. 200 languages, just count them. I know you won't. But it's 200 languages, and future generations of Europeans, I'm sorry, Europeans, but we're going to have to be bilingual. We are going to have to be. And English speakers hate this. 2 languages in one head, no one can live at that speed. Good Lord, man. You're asking the impossible. But the Dutch speak 4 languages and smoke marijuana.
You were born in Yemen. You lived there for 1 year because your dad worked there, and then you moved to Ireland and then to Wales, and you started boarding school at the age of 6. That's a very early age.
Yeah.
Why was that?
Because Mum died when I was 6, so my mum and dad discussed it before my mum died, and they decided that me and my brother should go to boarding school.
You were 6 years old when your mom died. Do you actually remember that?
Oh, yeah. I remember all... Yeah, people say that, actually. People say you won't remember much of that time. I remember that and everything before that really clearly because it was a really good time. So if you imagine you're having a good time and it's all fun and then your mum dies and you just lock in those memories.
And the actual day when she died, do you remember that too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, not a good day. Yeah, Dad was supposed to pick us up from school and he didn't. So we just went and sat in a room and we were all given lemonade and biscuits. And some other kids were there and other parents were there. So it was quite weird. It's like a party in the middle of the day. I didn't quite realise what was going on. We just thought this was just a weird thing. All these kids sitting at one side of a room and that's parents sitting here and kids sitting over there, staring at each other, and we kept munching things.
And did they tell you?
No, Dad just came and picked us up, and then he told us.
Now, I used to go to school here. This is the school uniform that we wore when I was here. And kind of funky it was, too. Okay, so I better explain the tits. Didn't have those at school. Wanted to, but not in the school curriculum. Even though I asked. Didn't really, but... because I would have got my head kicked in. Oh, yes, sir.
You discovered at the age of 4 that you were...
Yeah. I think if you're alternative sexuality, gay, lesbian, transgender, you know it early. A lot of kids do this. They just know. I mean, some people talk about thinking or feel, you know, going gay, going straight, whatever. I just don't think it's a choice thing. I think it's genetic. It's in there. They're going to find the gene. That's in the next few years, I would guess.
But I mean, as a 4-year-old, you can't think I'm a transvestite. I mean, what was the...
A boy was wearing his sister's dress, and I thought, that's great. I'd like to do that.
But did you feel any shame around it, or...
A lot of shame, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it just didn't seem to be... didn't seem to mix in with society in the 1960s. So I didn't tell anyone. You know, all the kids were laughing at this boy, so I thought, obviously it's not a good thing to flag up at that point. I think I'd do that. So I just didn't mention it.
So you hid it since you were 4 until the age of
21.
21, yeah.
But then I came out to the press when I was, what was it, about 29. I told everyone except my dad. Some people said, don't tell your dad.
Was that the hardest, obviously?
Yeah, that, didn't know quite what his reaction was. I'd sort of worked everything out, and I was going to write him a letter if it all went wrong. But yeah, that was a very heavy day. But he was fine about it, so... Not great about it. I mean, you know, it's not really his thing at all. The words that he used, some journalist asked him, and he said, I was not best pleased, which is a very English way of saying, you know, it wasn't great.
You say that being a transvestite is being 100% boy plus extra girl.
Yeah, that's for me, that's straight transvestite, or male lesbian. I thought, you know, got half boy, half girl things going on, but it seems like I've got all boy stuff, football, sort of goal-orientated, not wildly emotional, you know, not great at sensing styles and designs. My senses, women tend to, and gay men, I think, have their senses more heightened. Men have them lowered, but maybe slightly more focused, single focus instead of wide focus. I think yes, but it's just the level of that. And
it works. It's a bit on stage. This is so bright that, and you know that's dark, and it's very cut in half. I think.
I can go right out, and it doesn't make a problem.
Not on stage.
Because I was going for that thing of the.
It's a skirt you can work out in.
That's the same.
Oh yeah.
You look very male. You have the mustache and beard.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you can't put on a dress and lipstick when you look like that.
No, I have two sort of modes. I just go girly mode or boy mode. I'm exploring quite how to be transgender, how to express myself. And I tend to, when I'm doing stand-up, you'll see if you use a clip or whatever,
yeah.
But I tend to wear makeup because that's the only real time I can, because I can wear what I want, and no producer's telling me do this or do that. When I go up for films or in theatre, you have to either look a certain character or I'm auditioning for a certain character. And seeing as people don't have huge imaginations, I can't come in wearing makeup because they'll just go, well, that won't work, next.
So is this male look more of strategic
yes,
reasons?
I should be, in a perfect world, maybe 50 years in the future, with enough people out who are transgender, it should be able to be that I get up in the morning and I say, what should I wear? Just like women can do. So I wear trousers, shall I wear a skirt? A lot of makeup, no makeup. Have a choice. No, it's great because, you know, before that it was just a hellish secret, and now I'm out, and there's no shame. There's guilt and shame are the two adjectives you get free with this I had to learn analysis from that. I had to analyse myself, and I've used that analysis on trying to unlock my career, which I did do. So transvestism gave me my career, really. Not through, because people say, you've got known because of the transvestism, and that is not the case, even though it obviously makes an extra bit of something that goes with it. But when I came out, I could have lost my entire career. Finally, after 10 years of pushing, my stand-up was taking off. I don't think any agent would say, you're a transvestite, tell everyone. You know, or you're gay, you're lesbian. A lot of them just keep it in the closet. So it wasn't the thing that made it happen. It's just, I'm glad I told the press at the time.
When you're making love, do you prefer being a man or a woman?
Probably a girl, probably a woman. But, yeah. Yes, I don't... Getting that right, it's been slightly harder. But yeah, I'm a wannabe lesbian, basically. So
that's very hard to grasp. So you actually prefer making love when you have, I mean, dressed as a woman with false tits and...
Well, yeah, I've always wanted to have boobs, but, you know, I look kind of blokey, so... there's lots of, you know, it's basically a lot of teenage girl stuff where girls say, I want to have boobs. And I was thinking, yeah, I want to have boobs.
But I mean, there are private parts in a man who mostly is the most important part.
Right.
But, and for you?
Oh, actually, well, when it comes to genitalia, if we're getting down to that, what time does this go out? Penis-vagina question, I'm not really bothered either way, actually. Women tend to be interested in penises, so you may as well stick with that. People still coming into the gate?
Yes.
Looks like it's full already. Sorry. Oh, come on, I'm sorry, it just looks crammed in there. Hello, I'm Eddie.
Eddie, oh, hello, Eddie.
Hello.
I don't recognize you. I've seen you on the video.
No,
I know it was different.
I have two different modes, boy mode and girl mode. So there's a bunch of Swedish stand-ups out there.
Yes. A rush they're rushed to get the tickets, so. But they love you. You are the favorite.
Well, I better be interesting.
The king of comedy.
I'll try to be interesting. I can speak Swedish. You can prata svenska. No, that's too much. You can prata svenska. That'll work as an opening line. Go up there, stand there, don't say anything, and then just clear your throat and then you go. You can prata svenska. Oh, fuck, no, fuck. Jag kan prata svenska. But that's all I know.
At one stage you said that you were going to make a choice between becoming a military, an accountant, or a stand-up comedian.
Well, it was when I was 17, 16, 17, 18, I was thinking, there was an officer cadetship. I liked money. And they said, you go to university and we pay you a wage, a second lieutenant's wage. And then you give 3 years to the army after that. So I seriously consider that, because I'm quite military in my head.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you mean by being military in your head?
I'm very strategic. If you think of, you know, some people's careers go great and it goes off and they go, hey, and then when their career stops, they don't know how it stops. And I worked everything out.
Do you understand why Europeans are so obsessed with American politics and they don't even know who they have voted to the European Parliament?
Yeah, well, I understand that. I mean, obviously, we can't even quite work out what the whole Parliament does. And until we get all this rationalised, which could be in the Constitution. I don't know what's it. I've downloaded the Constitution, but I haven't read it. It's also boring. See, politics is incredibly tedious. That's why most people are switched off. It's tedious as hell. And I have a very, I'm a popcorn-eating film watcher, so I find politics fascinating, interesting. I know it, but it's tedious as hell. So I think I'm in the right place to kind of analyse it, because I understand people going, oh, shut up about this. What do they do? The fun way to make politics exciting is to have a war. World War II was very good. It was great films came out of that. 50 million people dead, and we decided this is best not to do this anymore. I think Sweden and Poland used to have a bit of a bang too over many, many centuries. You know, and we kept doing this over and over again. You hit me, and I'll hit you 100 years later. Then you come, and his son and his grandson comes back and hits. And we did that from Alexander the Great to World War II, and now we've decided the talking thing, and it's so boring, but it's the way forward. So that's it. And we don't feel we have a huge amount of power in Europe because we're not... I mean, I think we need to have a sort of Supreme Council in Europe where you have all the heads of all the countries, and we elect in the whole of Europe a leader, have democratic Europe, but people aren't quite there yet.
See, I think America is like the house next door. And when a Republican government is in, because they deal with a sort of hawkish foreign policy of just fuck off. Just fuck off from America, can you? And that's equivalent to someone just pissing over the garden fence. Then, stay with me, if the Democrats get in, they don't piss over that. They try and make connections, and they're generally cooler. But they don't apologise for pissing over the fence, because it wasn't them. And then the Republicans get back in, and they start pissing over the fence. So in the rest, we in ROW, the rest of the world, all we know is that the people in number 23 keep pissing over the fence from time to time. So I think now it's good to have a large democratic union that is a breaking power. You know, the old head with the young heart thing. I just, you know, that's what I'm going to do. That's why I'm trying to do gigs everywhere, all over Europe, and learn languages and try.
You're not very positive to Margaret Thatcher. You had some joke about God creating the world and putting a stone in her heart.
Yeah, she is a disgusting human being and should be shot.
Why?
Well, one reason why. She said Nelson Mandela was a terrorist, and she's great friends with Pinochet, who is, as we all know, a mass murderer and, you know, crimes against humanity. If she can say those two things, you know, what a waste of space. I mean, she was very tough and firm. She was very, you know, Hitler-light, I feel. So she's kind of, you know, picked up a few things from Adolf there. But she was...
You compare to Adolf Hitler?
Yeah, Hitler-light. Not, you know, diet Hitler, not full-on Hitler. But she used the tools of democracy to have her dictatorship.
So Europe's interesting. Where are we in Europe? People here, who's for Europe? Who's against Europe? Who's for the euro? Who's for the krona? Who's for the krona all across Europe? Now, what's the difference? It's just a name. It doesn't really matter. It's just supposed to make us easier. But we're scared because that money will go, and then it'll go the precious. We will lose the precious.
Margaret Thatcher actually said to me when I interviewed her, she was very much against the EU because she said, you can never get democracy when people are speaking different languages.
Well, she's just an old trowel, isn't she? She's got no imagination. Of course you can get democracy with people speaking different languages. It's just got to work a little bit harder. And maybe she's just... She wasn't a lazy person, I couldn't say that, but it's a lack of imagination. I mean...
What about Tony Blair?
I'm fine with Tony Blair. I mean, he's done some things I don't agree with, but, you know, I way prefer them to... I'm a Labour Party member, and I way prefer them to the Tories.
And you were also at 10 Downing Street with him?
Absolutely, yeah.
Why were you there?
Because I was invited after the thing. I thought I'd kind of check out the place. But no, I'm fine. The war in Iraq, I feel I wasn't against the war because I am against all dictators. And I feel since 1945, any dictators in the world is like an abomination. What are these people doing here? This should have been stopped. We need to have the International Criminal Court. We need to have that with teeth. All dictators should immediately go and have life imprisonment. You don't even need to try them if you think about it, because you don't need to prove that they're dictators. They're dictators. So just put them in prison, throw away the key, end of story. So getting rid of dictators is okay, but I don't believe George Bush went in there for getting rid of a dictator. I never saw him walk. He never went out of America. You know, he went to China with his dad, I think, but that was it. So if he'd spent his entire life saying, the Iraqis, they have a tough time. I love the Iraqis and I want to help them, give them democracy, then you'd kind of believe it. But this is someone who just had unfinished business and a lot of oil sitting there and a presence in... You know,
but what about Tony Blair then?
Well, so, you see, I don't feel that he went in for the second agenda. I don't feel that he went in there because I've got to get oil and I've got to get these things and I've got to get British out there in the middle of the Middle East to have a British presence there with troops on the ground so we can do anything we want out there. I don't feel that it came from that place.
And in America, everything's got a bit weird. Terrorism has started to happen. You know, the Oklahoma bombing, which everyone was quite sure was some sort of Islamic fundamentalist thing, and everyone said, no, found out it was white guys from nearby, you know. That must have freaked you out. Something rotten, I thought. These guys from around the corner, they look like us. Oh, fuck. The FBI picked up a guy who was trying to access anthrax through the mail. Who the fuck do you write to for anthrax? Is there a big desk with people going, more requests for anthrax? Thank you, Jeff. Dear Mrs. Stevens, thank you for a request for anthrax, one of the most dangerous chemical weapons known to humankind. We have pleasure in rushing over to you 3 buckets of anthrax, yeah. For our own personal use only.
So what about religion? So what about the role religion plays today? Is it a peaceful role?
In extremist forms, no. In general forms, yes. You've got to separate religion and state. And then it all starts making sense. I mean, if you're living in a desert and you don't have cable television, you can understand why you get God. When you have cable television, people are less likely to get God because they've got this other God on the television.
So you think religion will play out its role in the future?
I think if you get to a place where the whole of the world has infrastructure, people bringing up their kids, things to go for, jobs to do, we're all trading with each other, there's less of a breeding ground for terrorism. So the extremist forms of religion, using terrorism with religion, would have less culture to grow in. There's obviously a number of things from religion, and maybe the Buddhist religion is the one to look at because it has no God. And I haven't studied that all backwards and forwards, but it's when you get the magic thing. There's obviously something spiritual seems good, open-minded seems good, life after death can be helpful, maybe that happens. Be open-minded, but dogmatically fixed, and unto death you're going to do it, then that is not, I think, what Muhammad wanted, what Jesus wanted, what Abraham wanted.
So I suppose we're glad that Pol Pot's under house arrest. You know, 1.7 million people, at least we know where he is, under house arrest. Just don't go in that fucking house, you know? I know a lot of people who would love to be under house arrest. They bring you your food, you just stay here. All right. Yeah. Have you got any videos? You know, you just sit there all day.
But living in hotel rooms, moving from hotel to hotel.
I went to boarding school for 12 years, remember, so my life is a bit messy, but I live in here, so it is good to have a place to go, but I don't necessarily need it.
But what other people call normal life, friends, a partner, a house, children.
Yeah, I was never really up for that. No. I was always kind of a loner.
You've really been fighting very hard, and you reached, I mean, you become a famous stand-up comedian now. You're a respected actor in film and theater. What's the ultimate goal for you?
Ultimate goal is to do really good films. That's it.
The next film is going to be Ocean's 12.
Yes, I have a very small part in Ocean's 12, a cameo role.
And how did that come about?
That came probably, well, particularly because the producer, Jerry Weintraub, was phoning me up and said, hey, do you want to come down and do this part? So it was a new role that came up, and they threw it my way, so I had to go and film it in Rome, which is great, because that's all I've ever really wanted to do, really, really, is big, stupid films. Not stupid films, but, you know, stupid in the scale of them.
So where do you think this urge, this great need in you, where did it come from?
Well, I think it's fueled from my mum dying. I think I've said this thing of...
like Madonna's mum, like Orson Welles' mum?
Yeah, those are the two that I know. But you can also have dysfunctional. But it doesn't have to be necessarily, it could be mother or father, I think, and it could be dysfunctional. Not giving you love, or love disappearing, or love not coming in. And this is the audience becomes a surrogate affection machine, I've said, so...
But I don't want to be cynical, but it seems to me, having interviewed quite a lot of people in this area who have tragedies in their background, it seems that tragedy in childhood kind of promote art.
Well, yeah, I see this as a fairly healthy way. My mum died, so this affection disappears. I see a play after that, and I'd done one play before that, and that was fine, but see this other play and go, I got to do this. And then what you've got to do is, it's not unconditional love, you have to work for it. But you really like the idea of people going, that's great, so much that you'll work your arse off to get it. That's how I work.
When you're making love, do you prefer being a man or a woman?
Oh, actually, well, when it comes to genitalia, if we're getting down to that, what time does this go? Penis-vagina question, I'm not really bothered either way, actually.
Eddie Izzard är
Quick shower.
Well, I do assume the intelligence of the audience. There's this thing of dumbing down that they talk about in television, going for the lowest common denominator. I tend to go for the highest common denominator, and I assume the intelligence of the audience. And if I played an audience that wasn't sharp, they would probably lynch me, because they would say, what are you talking about? But I assume people have watched a whole bunch of films, they can get references to history, politics, obscure things. Because I don't know enormous amount. I do take in a lot of facts, but I tend to just throw out small facts that I've learned, which makes me sound like I know a hell of a lot about the subject, but I don't really know.
But how come you made such a big success with these ovanliga ämnen för en ståuppkomiker?
Pol Pot killed 1.7 million people. We can't even deal with that. I think, you know, we think if somebody kills someone, that's murder, you go to prison. You kill 10 people, you go to Texas, they hit you with a brick, that's what they do. 20 people, you go to a hospital, they look through a small window at you forever. And over that, we can't deal with it, you know? Somebody's killed 100,000 people. We're almost going, well done, well done. You killed 100,000 people? You must get up very early in the morning. I can't even get down the gym. Your diary must look odd. Get up in the morning, death, 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 lunch. death. Afternoon tea, death.
Difficult topics.
Well, I do a lot of history because I found that no one did it. And I love history because I find that history, plus the changes in society and the changes in technology equals the future. This is my sort of theory. So if you study the past, you get the future, and you can work out what's going to happen.
Isn't it hard to make jokes about European Union?
I take the European Union, yes. I don't really. I've only just started to try and talk about the European Union because comedy is very good for attacking, and I'm very positive about the Union. So I think it's the way that if humans aren't coming together, then what's the point of being human? We may as well just blow ourselves up.
In Europe we have 200 languages. 200!
Uppkomikens absoluta superstjärna, och han har slagit total knock på publiken med sina ovanligt intelligenta skämt över hela västvärlden. Att han är transvestit och ofta uppträder sminkad med sylvassa höga klackar och lösbröst, det har inte gjort saken sämre. Eddie Izzard har också gedigen bakgrund som skådespelare både inom teater och film, och snart kan vi se honom mot Brad Pitt och George Clooney i filmen Ocean's 12. Men det är som stå-upp-komiker han är mest känd, och han har också vunnit tv-världens finaste pris, Emmy, för sina shower. Och det unika med den engelska stjärnan, det är det han skämtar om, nämligen historia, krig och EU, minst sagt